Welcome to the Deep Dive Books channel, where we hope you find something valuable every day.
We continued discussing David Yeager's book, 10 to 25, The Science of Motivating Young People. This is the fourth part of our interpretation. Today's topic is how to develop a mentor mindset. The mentor mindset emphasizes high standards and high support. At first glance, this sounds intuitive. Who would disagree? However, people don't accept it as easily as one might think. I've noticed that conclusions in social sciences often work this way. You propose a theory A, and people say, that's obvious. But if you reverse it into theory B, people also find it obvious. The reality is that, forming intuitions is easy, but intuitions can be misleading. True mentor-minded individuals are rare because people are often drawn to incorrect ways of thinking. Let's take an example. You may have seen the movie Whiplash, 2014, a high-intensity inspirational film. It follows a young jazz drummer named Andrew Neiman, an ambitious student at a top music conservatory, who is determined to master his craft. His teacher, the band conductor Terence Fletcher, is an extremely demanding and ruthless figure. You'd think that, if a student is dedicated and a teacher is strict, there shouldn't be much conflict, right? There is intense conflict. Fletcher is not just harsh. He is irrationally oppressive. From Andrew's perspective, he is naturally talented, highly perceptive, and already practicing so hard that his hands are bleeding. Yet, it's not enough. Fletcher is never satisfied. He never gives a word of praise, and he seems almost maliciously intent on eliminating him. The film ultimately has a compelling ending. I highly recommend watching it. It will take you on an emotional roller coaster. One of the most memorable scenes is when Fletcher finally reveals why he is so strict. His words have been turned into a widely shared, striking poster. If you are a teacher, I suggest printing it out and putting it in your office or classroom. There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job. Fletcher's point is that kids today receive praise too easily. Parents and teachers hand out good job for the most trivial efforts, and this kind of cheap encouragement is damaging the entire music industry. Great musicians must uphold the highest standards, yet people's expectations are dropping. This phenomenon is widespread. Consider the term GPA inflation. College professors today grade students much more generously than they did decades ago. 50 years ago, less than 20% of students in a university course would receive an A. Today, it's over 40%. Aren't we spoiling young people? So Fletcher's extreme strictness must be right. Many viewers support his approach. The world doesn't need 500 superstar drummers. If you want a place among them, you must pay a price that ordinary people cannot afford. What's wrong with that? The problem is that Fletcher operates with an enforcer mindset, not a mentor mindset. The enforcer mindset is a dominant way of thinking. In the 20th century, management theorist Douglas McGregor introduced Theory X in his 1960 book, The Human Side of Enterprise. This theory aligns with the enforcer mindset. Theory X assumes that people are inherently selfish and lazy, always looking to avoid responsibility. Employees only work for money and stability. They don't truly care about the company's success. They are content with the status quo, lack creativity, and require constant supervision. The best way to manage them? A carrot and stick approach. Reward high performers and fire underperformers. Theory X feels intuitive, doesn't it? Many famous companies adopted it as their guiding philosophy. One of the most celebrated business leaders of the 1980s and 1990s was Jack Welch, CEO of General Electric. Welch was a firm believer in Theory X. He ranked employees into three groups: A, B, and C. A-level employees received bonuses 2 to 3 times higher than B-level employees. C-level employees received no bonus and were at risk of being fired. Welch's iron-fisted approach led to the termination of over 100,000 employees during his tenure. General Electric's stock price soared, and Welch was hailed as a management icon. Steve Ballmer, who succeeded Bill Gates as Microsoft CEO, adopted Welch's forced ranking system. He implemented stack ranking, using Welch's vitality curve, categorizing employees into top, middle, and bottom tiers. Any employee ranked in the bottom tier twice was automatically dismissed. Ballmer even mandated that every department had to classify 10% of its employees as bottom tier, regardless of actual performance. This was absurd. Imagine having a team of outstanding employees, yet still being forced to label 10% as poor performers. At Microsoft, everyone lived in fear. Many companies still follow Welch and Ballmer's methods. In China, this is known as involution. An intense competitive environment where everyone must overwork just to survive. If you don't grind, you'll be eliminated. If you can't grind anymore, you leave. Some employees even accept this as natural, believing that workplaces should be brutally competitive. After all, isn't this the only way to drive productivity? In reality, Ballmer's tenure was a lost decade for Microsoft. The company missed major innovations and even struggled to maintain its existing strengths. Innovation requires a relaxed and bold environment. Under forced ranking, employees were constantly scrutinized and afraid to take risks. Ballmer also had a habit of publicly humiliating employees during meetings, making people too scared to speak. Engineers and project managers avoided seeking help for fear of bad evaluations. This kind of corporate culture is toxic. Here's the real question. Why did forced ranking work under Welch but fail under Ballmer? This is where analyzing social phenomena becomes tricky. First, when Welch took over General Electric, it was a bloated company with significant inefficiencies. Cutting redundant staff did improve productivity. But Welch's success may not have been due to his management style. He may have done other things right. For example, as discussed in a previous article, Welch excelled at managing investor expectations, ensuring quarterly earnings looked good and boosting stock prices. More importantly, he delayed problems. The moment he retired, GE's growth stagnated, and the company became unsalvageable. This illustrates a fundamental issue. Correlation does not imply causation. Business case studies and success stories often fail to prove anything. When someone succeeds using a particular method, you don't know if that method was truly effective, if other factors were at play, or if it was just luck. In Yeager's book, there is a high school teacher named Sergio, who was assigned to teach an advanced placement, AP, physics course. This elective course is primarily taken by students aiming to apply to prestigious universities, and for the high school, it serves as a testament to the institution's academic strength. Sergio needed to improve his students' performance within a short time frame, but having never taught this subject before, he decided to imitate the best teacher he could find. The school sent him to observe Oscar, a highly successful AP physics teacher at the best high school in the area. Oscar shared two key pieces of advice with Sergio. Teach at an extremely fast pace and focus only on the top students in the class. The weaker students would never pass the AP exam anyway, so slowing down for them would only hinder the progress of the high achievers. Sergio found this reasoning convincing and applied the same approach in his own classroom. Only to face a complete disaster. His students simply couldn't keep up with the pace. If you think about it, the problem is obvious. Oscar taught at a private high school where, rather than being an exceptional teacher, he benefited from having naturally high-achieving students, many of whom had strong parental support. If they didn't understand something in class, they could turn to private tutoring or additional coaching. In reality, learning wasn't happening in Oscar's classroom. He was merely overseeing their academic progress. This demonstrates that, to truly understand how things work in society, one must rely on scientific methods. McGregor did not adopt a scientific approach, but as a serious scholar, he himself did not fully subscribe to Theory X. His book also introduced a parallel concept, Theory Y. Theory X is based on the assumption of the rational economic man, whereas Theory Y is rooted in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Theory Y argues that people have higher aspirations and are motivated by social connections, status, reputation, and a sense of purpose. Employees don't need constant supervision. They will work diligently on their own because they want to contribute. Theory Y believes in individuals' ability to self-regulate, asserting that employees not only willingly take on responsibilities but also actively seek them out. According to Theory Y, an ideal corporate culture should be relaxed and foster a pleasant work environment, as this encourages innovation. Yeager's book mentions a mid-level manager at Microsoft named Steph Okamoto, who later became a senior executive. At the time, she strongly opposed Steve Ballmer's forced ranking system and instead embraced Theory Y. Steph is now a well-known manager, but back then, she misunderstood Theory Y and adopted a protector's mindset. For instance, Steph was exceedingly kind to her subordinates, offering support but never uttering a harsh word, effectively blurring the lines between superior and subordinate. Whenever her team members had conflicts with others in the company, she would immediately step in to defend them, shielding them excessively. As a result, her subordinates never received constructive feedback, their performance declined, and under Ballmer's system, they were inevitably laid off. Theory X and Theory Y are fundamentally opposed, yet both seem intuitively plausible. One reflects the mindset of an enforcer, the other a protector. Neither represents the optimal leadership approach. This is worth contemplating. How should we guide our students, subordinates, or younger family members? Countless wise individuals have pondered this question throughout history, yet until just a few decades ago, there was no definitive answer. And now, the answer is right before us. As discussed in the previous lecture, scientific research has demonstrated that the best approach is a mentor's mindset, combining high standards with strong support. Both Sergio and Steph eventually realized the value of this mentorship mindset. Their unique contribution to Yeager's book was demonstrating how leaders should manage performance. For example, when an employee's performance declines or a student performs poorly on an exam, how should a leader approach the conversation? Yeager refers to this technique as collaborative troubleshooting, which I summarize with two principles. First, the relationship between you and your subordinate should be collaborative. You're not merely pointing out their problems. Instead, you're working together to address them. Second, avoid absolute judgments such as, "You failed this time, so you're incapable." The goal is to help individuals overcome their limitations, while ensuring they feel secure in their position. A typical collaborative troubleshooting session consists of 3 steps. 1. State the facts. "Hey, your performance review score is quite low this time." 2. Provide reassurance. "I don't believe this score truly reflects your abilities. I don't want people to see you as someone who consistently underperforms. I want us to prove together that you're capable of delivering high performance." 3. Offer a solution. "I have a project that might help you rebuild your reputation. What do you think? Let's work out a plan together." The standards remain high, and individuals must take responsibility for their own progress, but the mentor provides guidance and support throughout the process. McGregor originally envisioned Theory X and Theory Y as a spectrum, where managers could flexibly apply them based on their company's circumstances. You might think that, in a labor-intensive company where effort is paramount, Theory X, with its reward and punishment system, should be used, while in an innovation-driven company like Microsoft, a more relaxed Theory Y approach would be appropriate. But that would be a mistake. I believe the mentorship mindset applies universally. Whether it's a drummer, an engineer, a scientist, or a taxi driver, the combination of high standards and strong support will always lead to better performance. Human nature is the same across different professions. If you must make a distinction, it might be as follows. In a one-to-many situation, such as managing a large group of students or subordinates, start with high standards to filter out those who can't keep up, then provide strong support to those who remain. In a one-to-one scenario, such as raising a child, you have no choice but to begin with strong support. Only once they demonstrate real potential, should you impose high standards. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.